Hello, everybody. This is my final prelude leading up to Ancient Dacia by Nikolai Den-Sushani. Since my last video, I have spent 30 to 40 hours translating the first 41 pages of the book. The preface is 125 pages long, and I have decided to split it into 3 equal parts. So, with my next video, I will start to read my translation while you're able to see my screen of me reading my translation. And you will notice there are some parts in other languages, such as French, that I don't translate. If you speak those languages, please translate them. I am not attempting to do so as to not to butcher the language, because this book was written over 100 years ago, and many words are not spelled the same today as they were back then, or vice versa. So the dictionaries reflect today's spelling. That's why any translation I would attempt would be inaccurate. The language of Romanian alone is very difficult for me. I have a 4th grade vocabulary, and I never really learned the Romanian alphabet the proper way, because in my first 2 years of school, I was learning German, out of which I know nothing today. Anyways, it was extremely difficult since so many words are spelled so differently, but I think I'm doing alright. We will see how I perform when I record the video tomorrow morning. And there are many expressions I'm not familiar with, so I did my best to try to visualize their intended meaning. It is very possible I have made quite a few mistakes, so if you happen to speak Romanian and you think I made a mistake, please feel free to correct me. Any of these aids, leave in the comments section, please. Before you start listening, though, you must understand some very important things. I have been going through a serious awakening for the last 3 years. I've really been different my entire life. I've always questioned everything. But in these last 3 years, it switched from questioning things to trying to apply what I am questioning. So, what happened starting 3 years ago? I was still going to school. I was getting my bachelor's degree in finance. And I graduated at the end of 2015, I believe, for 3.92 GPA. Now, the school I went to, I attended class 1 day per week. And then the last 5 courses was all online. It was University of Phoenix. And at least at that time, on my resume, that school had no value. More so, the 5 years prior to graduating, I was working mostly dead-end security jobs. So in the world of finance, that does not translate. Eventually, I came to conclude that it was due to a lack of connections that I wasn't able to find a job, but it didn't take me very long to realize that I was not meant to follow this path. More so, around that same time, I became aware of how we are all legally dead entities, okay? So, when we are born, we are assigned an ID number on our birth certificate. in a social security number on our social security cards and their various derivations across the world. It's all the same thing. Well, these two numbers go into a great virtual library, if you will. And they have their role. They act as documents that have value. In essence, your printed name and your signature represents the value of these documents. Now, if you do not know, the Federal Reserve can never be investigated in any shape or form, so we don't know what they are doing with all the information they possess. The Federal Reserve, which is not even part of government, holds all of our documents, our assets, and they are connected to a larger central bank, the IMF. And all the countries have the same system of operation for the most part. So you see, for the most part, we are all documents in some virtual folders of these entities that we cannot even investigate to see how good of a job they're doing. So in essence, as many have stated, but especially Santos Bonacci, we are strawmen because we fail to see the light that fills our body. In essence, our value is worth in our physical form alone, and we have abandoned the spiritual form, the light that fills our physical form, the light that continues to exist even when it disconnects from this physical form, which will decompose into whatever. I became aware through my own actions by trying to pay off some cards with my social security account number, which initially passed through, but then were later manually reversed, which is impossible because, first of all, your account should not exist, and second, if it does exist, the only one that has the right to access it or even deposit money into it is you. So that money, which was initially accepted and then reversed, it's just floating money now. Well, I have spent over $100,000 in Fed account money to pay off just my school loan, which is up to like 40 grand now. So, to me, I have paid this off, but all these manual reversals, which creates a floating balance of over 100K, is just floating. Because no one can put it back into my account other than myself. So then that brings into question how much money is in that account? Why does it exist? And who is using it? And if you want to go down that rabbit hole, please watch the Phoenician videos of Santos Bonacci. I shall do so again myself very soon. I need a refresher course. So, essentially, I paid everything off of my federal account number, my social security. And that's how I left the business world. I no longer worked security, and I no longer was interested in wanting to find a finance job. So for 1,500 deliveries, I did DoorDash. In this time period, I really reflected on life. Driving around, seeing the different environments, the demographics, and so forth. And that's when I realized, wow, everything that everyone wants is not what I want. I do not need a car. I do not need a home. I do not need material possessions. I don't need anything that is material. What I need is the ability to express myself creatively. But the ability to express myself creatively depends entirely on a world where the purity of truth emanates from every source. Our world is opposite. Our world is filled with lies. So, for me to live in my ideal world means I cannot exist in this world. Does that mean that I should kill myself? Or does that mean that I should create? Now, if you know that your soul, your light continues even after the body doesn't, you realize wherever you go, the system of control is apparent. Because if you believe in any version of creation, you believe that we all emanate from the same source, just in different forms. It's important to understand that. You will understand later. And each of us is like a song, right? Each song has its own melody. We each have our own melody. That is the beauty of uniqueness, emanating from the same source. Anyways, I have decided that I will fight my entire life to create the world that I desire. A world based on the purity of truth. That's all I want. I am not looking to compete or surpass anybody. All I want is a peaceful life. Well, there is no such thing anymore, is there? So we have to figure out how to get there. And I've come to conclude that the way to get there is full DNA awakening. To accomplish this, we must understand what the heck this means. And this is when I started my search down all relevant avenues, which led me to this book. Which means that for me to interpret this book as I do, I have accumulated a wealth of information which you maybe did not. This is extremely advanced material. It challenges your mind, your perception of reality, and your ability to visualize. If you don't know what aphantasia is, look into it. Spelled APHANTASIA. Learn to visualize. Until you're able to do so, and until you honestly desire a better world for human civilization, you are not ready for this book. I warned you. Now, if you're still around, enjoy the ride. It will not be easy. It will be stressful and boring. But if you're able to visualize, you'll understand.